Alright guys, welcome back. In a previous video, I did a demo of how um, Azure Active Directory authentication works for Azure Files. In this video, I'm actually going to go through the actual steps to make that I did to make that demo possible. And I'll be using this article here. Even though I will not be scrolling through the article step by step, but all the steps I'm going to perform in this video are actually covered on this article. Right, so, and I'll also share this article with the video. So let's get started. So I did a few things just to make sure that because it is time consuming to actually set up the Azure Active Directory domain services. So I've already set that up, but I'll show you the things that I did. First, what I did was I went into my Azure Active Directory, right? And I created a custom domain that I'm actually going to be using for this process. I created an azfiles.hazelnest.com. Now this is optional because you can still use whatever domain you currently have. But I created a new domain, a new custom domain in my Active Directory, and then I used that new domain to I linked that new domain to my Azure Active Directory domain service, as you can see here. This deployment does take about an hour from end to end. This is why I did that ahead of time so that you don't have to sit on the phone um, or watch a recording while things are moving in the back end. So once this is deployed, now I'm going to continue from this step. I'm going to do everything from this step forward. So once you deploy the Azure Active Directory domain service, it will give you two IPs here, right? Um, I'm going to just take that out. Because I'm going to need those two IP address to set up my DNS for my VM so that they can actually join these domain services. Yeah. So another thing I actually did also is I created three VMs because that is everybody knows how to create a VM. If in my instance, I just run a script here that created these three VMs. So um, what I'm going to do now that the have three VMs, the Azure Active Directory domain service is up and running. I am going to change the actual VNet that those three VM belong to. I am going to go into that virtual network, and I'm going to go into the DNS section for the virtual network. And I'm going to say custom. And I'm going to use those two IPs as my DNS. It does say that I will need to reboot the machine for that to work. So I'll go back into my resource group. Actually, I'll just go straight to the virtual machines section. And what I'm going to do is just restart those machines just to make sure they are hitting the right DNS server. Okay. Now, so looking at this article, the next step I'm going to do uh, is actually create a storage account, right? I'm just going through the steps here just to make sure we're following along. So I'll go into storage. I'll put it in select a subscription, put it in the same resource group, and I'll call this AZ file str1. I'm just going to put it in the same region just to be, but you don't really need to because all we're using is the file share on this one. And I'm just going to make it LRS just because I don't have the money for the other ones. And I'm just going to go review and create. And create. Now, I'm creating a new storage account because I don't have any to use. But if you already have a storage account created, all you actually need to do is to just enable the Azure Active Directory authentication for Azure Files, which I'll show you in a few minutes. So if if you already have a storage account, you can just go ahead and enable that, and that should be perfectly fine. Okay, so I'll go into that storage account. And on the configuration, I'll enable the Azure Active Directory authentication for Azure Files. Say save. Okay, and that should be all we need to do in. Well, actually, let's go ahead. Now that we've enabled this, let's go ahead and create. Since this is a new storage account, let's go ahead and create a file share that we're going to be using. I'm going to make this 5 gigs. So create. And what I'm going to do is actually just get some information from that. I'm just going to take this one out and copy this into my notepad. Okay. Now, so once I have created a storage account, enabled the authentication for file share, and created a file share, that should be all I really need to do on the storage account section there. All right. Next, what I'm going to actually work on is the Azure Active Directory portion, right? So I'm going to go into Azure Active Directory. Okay. So in Azure Active Directory, now since this is a new domain, I do not have any users on it. So um, what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to actually create some users on it. Is it Azure AD? If you already have users on the domain that you're working with, then this is not something you would want to do. But in my case, I have a custom domain um, that doesn't have any users, so I have to actually put some users in that custom domain to actually set up the Active Directory portion. So I'm just going to create 3 users just to make it simple. And I do have what is it, Azure. Ooh, what's it called now? Azure AD. So it was Azure AD test users, okay. What is it, add? There we go. So I do have a custom script I use since I normally do a lot of testing with AAD users. So I'm just going to run this quickly to get some users into my to get 3 users. Who am I going to put? What should I do here? Let's see. Let's do this one. Let's do. Let's do one more. Let's do Chris. All right. All right. Oops. And because I don't want to go through the hassle of actually um, remembering passwords and all that, let me just, and this is for testing. I'm just bring up so I'm gonna bring up a password generator here. Let's just generate this one. And I will run my script. What the script will do, it will create 3 users and give them all the same password. Since this is just testing, this is not important, but in your scenario, you want to make sure that you prep for security. Um, Now that I have these 3 users in there, I'm going to go back to my actually directory. And what I'm going to do here is actually create some groups. And this is the group that gets created when you do deploy the Azure Active Directory domain service. It currently has my default login to the portal as a 1 user. But what I'm going to also do here is I'm going to add another user. Oh, why did it create 2 Fletcher Cox? I already have Fletcher Cox in here. So this is the one I want. I didn't know I have actually used that name before. So we have Fletcher Cox with fcox1, and I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna create a new group here, also call security group. I'm gonna call it AZ file update. Create that. And I'm gonna create another one, say AZ file read. Actually, I should just add the member now. So for the read, I'm gonna add Bennett1. And for the update, let's add Chris. Okay, so I have three users, one administrator, one is in the Azure Files update, one is in the Azure Files or AZ file read, right? Now, what I'm going to do, if I come back here, the section that I'm going to do now is basically I'm going to assign permissions to those identities. I'm coming back here is because so that you don't have to, when you're doing yours, you don't have to actually think a lot about it because the information is already here. I'm just going to go ahead and open up two Notepad. And I'm going to copy this out and put it in the first Notepad. And copy this one out, put it in the second Notepad. Now you're going to have to actually edit it a little bit to make sure it fits your purpose. For example, this is the read. So I'm going to call this one AZ file read. One word. It could be space or something. Let's put a hyphen in between or double hyphen. And then here it does need my my subscription. So I'm going to take this out and I'm going to put a subscription ID in there. Then I'm going to save this. I'm going to save this as if I move this to the end here. Oops. I'm going to save this as a JSON file, right? I'm going to say save. All right. And then I can close the read. And I'll open up the other one. Do the same thing, paste in the subscription. And I'll give it a name. AZ Files update, right? Because this rule is to update. Save as. Say all. And I'll also save this one also as a JSON. And I can close it. Once I have those two files saved as JSON, then I can then follow this step here to create a custom rule. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to change to the directory where my files are. And first thing I'm going to do is to make sure I'm logged in. And even though I'm logged into the right subscription. So I'll do get Azure RM contacts. I always going to put the E. Okay, this confirms that I'm logged into the right subscription with the right user. So then I can then follow the steps. I'm just going to scroll down a little bit here so you can see what I'm going to run. In this page here, it says the Azure, it says new dash AZ role, but since I do not have the AZ module, I am still using the old Azure RM module, so the command is going to be a little bit different. So it's going to be new Azure RM role definition, and I say get it from the input file. Oops. And the file I'm working with, or I'm going to do first, is the, let's see, is the read file. So that's going to create a role definition on my subscription. Let's do the update file now. Okay, so now I have the update and the read definition in my subscription. Now the next thing, I have to assign those um, to something, right? So we are going to use this section here where we are assigning the custom role to something, right? And if you look at, let me copy this out. Well, actually, you can look at it from here. I don't know. Let's see, copy it out. I am going to assign the role. Mine is going to be a little bit different because I am going to use the custom role that I created, right? And then I'm going to assign that role to the file share that I created. But in my case, I'm going to assign it to instead of assigning it to an individual, like the script says here, I'm going to actually assign it to a group there, okay? So let's see. So what I need to do is go back to my groups here and get the object ID for read. Oh, sorry, update. And while I'm in here, let me also go back and get the object ID for the read. Okay. So now that I have that, I am sort of going to run this command. So see. Actually, one thing I also want to do is make sure I format my storage resource ID correctly. So I am going to get, where is that? I'm going to replace my subscription ID here. Also going to replace my resource group here. And my resource group is AZ Files. And for the storage account, I'll replace this one. And for the file share, it will be this one. Okay, so now I have a proper resource ID. So let's see. I need to replace all these commands with Azure RM. Oops. And once I have that, also here, I need to replace this with a object ID. And this is for the update. And the role definition, let's see. So well, let's do it this way. So I'm going to bring up PowerShell here. And I'll just snap this one to one side. Snap this to the other side. So why did my role update? Let me see. I'm just checking to see if I have a custom role. Let me make sure that I did not. I'm only seeing read. So let me go back here. Let me run this again because I'm going to say without custom. Select name. So they're both there, Azure Files. So where is it not showing when I do? Oh, here we go. All right, this is what I wanted to see. Make sure that both of them are there. Perfect. Um, so I'm going to start off with the update role. So I'll take this one out. And so I have the role set, I have the resource set, and then I have the assignment, scoping it to the update. Okay. So I'll copy this one out. Now do the scope. Then now I'll set everything up, set the assignment. Okay, so that is set for the update. And I'll just change a few things for the read. One being the object ID, and the other being the definition. And then I'll just do the process over again. All right. So now that I have actually set up the assignment for the groups and I have the members in the group, um, really that actually should be all that I need to do. Now it's time to actually um, join the machine to the domain and see if everything works. Okay. So let me go to where's my other screenshot? Let me go to the guest machine VM1, this one. Connect. Because I haven't joined the machine to the domain yet, the actual users will not work. So I'm going to actually just take the local admin and connect to this one. Since this is the first time I'm actually connecting into the machine, it's taking a few minutes to load the profile. So, yes. Okay. So once the machine is connected, I can go to local servers, local server. And I can go to work group, say change, say domain, and I say AZ files. Now, what it's prompting me now for it's a user in the AAD DC administrator that is actually part of this domain, which is so this is why I added one user from this domain into that group, and that user was fcox1. And let me put in the password. Okay, so now I was able to actually join the domain for this machine. I say okay. Yes. Say close. And I'll restart. Give it a few minutes to restart. Okay, so with about 5 minutes, let's go ahead and try to connect again to that machine. Now, in this instance, what I'm actually going to do is to connect. I'm just going to, since I know it's joined the domain, or I should have joined the domain, I'm going to actually use one of the domain user. I'm going to use the admin in this case first, right? Which is and I'm going to use that password for that user. Okay, so that will log me into that machine as the domain user, right? Now, while that's setting up the profile for that domain user, let's look at our article for a minute. Now, what I'm going to do test now is just to, because everything is now set up, really, I'm just going to actually mount the domain I'm going to use this command here to try to actually connect to the share to see what I get. So let's copy this out and put it in a notepad. I'm going to do S and let's see what we got. Storage account. File share. So if I bring up PowerShell and run this, I should be able to connect to that file share without actually providing any password, should I? Okay, let's try. Nope, As you can see, it failed because there is no password. So let's cancel. Oops, where's it going? And the reason that happened is because this is the admin user. I did not make the admin group part of this. An easy fix would be to go back to my portal here, change this, go back here, change the administrator group, copy this object ID, paste it in here, and I want to give the administrator also update rule, right? And then let's run this because I set permission for two groups. I did not set permission for the administrator, so which is why I do not have permission to the file share. So I'm just going to correct that. And once I've set for that group, members of that group to also have permission, if I go in back and do this, I'm successfully connected to it. I can then navigate into like let's go to S colon, and I have no files in there, so I can say well, I have no files in there, but I mean, I'm actually in the connected successfully to the file share. Now, um, one step, I'm just gonna pause the video here, and I'm gonna join the other machines to the domain. Then I would actually go continue with the other portion of it. Okay. So at this point, I've actually joined all the machines to the domain. What I'm going to do is actually log out of this machine as Cox. Now I'm going to actually sign into, let's say I'm going to say this same machine, I'm going to try to sign into it as the other user. Let me bring this. I'm going to try to sign into this machine as Michael. Let's run that. Say connect. Set my credential. I'm going to change this one. I'm going to say let's do Bennett. And password. Okay, it gets to the machine, but let's see what happens. And you get this connection denied because account is not authorized to remote login. Now, I did this intentionally because I wanted to show you this is normally what you will get if you try to customize it. Because by default, Azure Active Directory Domain Service only allows people in the DC administrator to actually log into the machine. So what I'm going to do now is actually going to change that a little bit because in my demo that I did previously, I showed you that there were different groups. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to connect to this other VM here. Now with this VM, I'm going to actually connect to it using an administrator, Xbox1. Daisy. Okay, I'm connecting it as an administrator or DC administrator, so I can go into the group policy that pushes and tell it, okay, um, and tell it two things. One, I'm going to tell it to use my um, to also add the other users from my different groups to be able to RDP, and also to mount the file share upon RDP. So let's go. If I go into tools, all right. So actually, I thought it was already installed, but let's go ahead and actually add some features because I do not have the remote management features installed. So let's go here, say next, and role base. Let's see, which features do I need? Where's my group policy? Let's just do this one. And let's also just do DNS, that's for kicks. Okay, and I'm gonna just say okay to that. Next, next. Leave everything default and install. So that's gonna add the group policy role so that I can actually manage the group policy on my Azure Active Directory domain services. Okay, it should take a few minutes and all the services should be installed. Let's go here, say close. Really what I want here is, sorry, in the tools, it's just this. Uh, this is actually the uh, this is where the group policy that gets pushed to all the machines. This is how when they join the Azure Active Directory domain service, this is how the group policy is what tells it that what machines can actually log in uh, from that section. So what I'm going to do is actually expand that. Is it detail? Come on. Let's go here. Sorry, I want to remove that error from popping up all the time. Okay, so this looks like it. Let's go with it. Edit. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Yep, this is it. Control panel, local user and groups, administrator, right? So this is telling it to add all the ADC user to the local administrator, which in turn gives them permission to actually RDP. So I'm not going to touch that because really all we want the users to be able to do is log in. So I'm just going to say new group update. The group name, I'm going to say, is it RDP? Come on, where are you? Remote desktop user. Okay. And I'm going to say, what should you add to the remote desktop user? And for this one, I'm just going to pick up on those two groups that I created, right? You can be really big. You can do whatever you want in this section, but I'm just going to add this user and also add this group. I don't know. Doesn't mean to do one at a time. All right, and I'll add the other one. Which one did I just add? I think I had the update. I see the read. Okay, so I'll add those two groups to the RDP group on my policy, and I'll say okay. So apply, then okay. Then I'll close this and I'll refresh. But I did. Okay, never mind. Confirm that those two groups are also getting added. Right. So now if I close this out of this group policy, and this I'm on VM1. So remember when we tried to log into the guest, the last time we got that error. Let's go ahead and try to do this again. Let's see the other VM number. The guest, yep, let's go ahead and connect. And we're going to use the one we got the error for, which was Bennett. And the password. Say yes. Group policy replication. Let's give it a few minutes. Oh, we can just, I mean, yeah, actually that's what we should do. Let's go back here. Go to virtual machines. Let's restart the machine so it gets a new policy. Let's go restart and give it 5 minutes for it to restart. Okay, so let's go ahead and try it now after a couple of minutes. Let's go ahead and say connect. Nope, let's go back here. And Bennett. And we want a password. Say okay. Yes. Perfect. That will take us right into our VM. Any user, since I'm logged into here as Bennett, I can still take out this section here. Because I'm actually joined to the domain, I should be able to run this successfully. Um, oh, I'm not an administrator, sorry. I should be able to just bring up PowerShell and connect without any issues. To the file share. But I can actually get that fixed. But if you see here, I have the drive mounted and I can then, drop files in there, move files around. And well, let's see. Bennett only had read, so if I try to create a new file here, it will tell me that I do not have permission to actually create a new file with Bennett. So let's go ahead and log on to another. Let's log on to another machine. Let's log on to this machine with Chris Long. Oops. All right, with Chris Long, since Chris Long was part of the update user, he should be able to actually write to that share. Okay, just want to make sure that the share was in there. Let's go ahead and this one doesn't have admin permission to the machine. They're only RDP permissions. So I'm gonna go ahead and actually take this one also out. And run it as Chris Long. This should connect me to the share. And I should have share. So for Chris Long, I should be able to write into the share because he has an update permission. Oops. And if I go back to the machine for Bennett, the file should be there. I can open it as Bennett, but I can actually save it to the share. It would not allow me to save it to the share. And as Bennett, I cannot actually delete it at all. I do not have permission. Okay. All right. So basically, that's how you set it up from, well, I want to say from point to point, but actually, it is not. Normally, the whole process from end to end. I walked through the video. The video is going to be about 1 hour, but from end to end, from where I started to the end, it takes about 2 hours. And if you had to actually do the Azure Active Directory domain services, that's another hour. So to set up something like this from end to end, you're looking at 3 hours. So definitely give yourself time and be patient because with Active Directory, there's a lot of replication that needs to be done. So just keep that in mind. Okay. Well, thank you for watching. You have a good day. PS, for if you want the Azure file share to map automatically, you will need to set this policy down below here. It is actually in Preferences, Windows, Map Drive, and you can just add a new map drive and you can put in the information here, and that will mount the drive automatically.